Don't just stand there with your blueberry syrup mustaches. Later, we find Agnes in the midst of her performance at the Unclub. Tonight will be a night of sharing for the sharing impaired. After all, we are all soulmates in the vast cosmic dustbin of intergalactic space. The universe is made up of at least 100 billion galaxies. Each galaxy contains at least 100 billion stars, and we are all microspecks on the spec ship Earth. So the fact that my parents locked me out and someone stole my parakeet shouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but no, I am very upset about it. As I was leaving to come tonight, my grandmother said,
"As long as you're leaving, take out the trash."
I looked around the room. I saw my grandmother's specs, lima bean, split pea, my mosaic decoupage, hanging above my granddad's specs, Berkline recliner. You know, the kind they give away on game shows. I see her imitation early American maple coffee table in the shape of a wagon wheel. I see her salt and pepper shaker collection sitting on her semi-early American knick-knack shelf. I see a wrought iron lamppost with a ceramic drunk leaning against it. I see it, but I don't believe it. Take out the trash? I say, I wouldn't know where to begin. When I look at my family, I feel like a detached remnant. I mean, the last really deep conversation I had with my dad was about our t-shirts. His said, "Science, the truth found out." And mine said, "The truth can be made up if you know how." This morning, on the radio, I heard the weatherman say, "The air outside is unacceptable. Those with breathing problems should not go outside." What I wanted to shout is that what isn't acceptable is that the air isn't acceptable. I mean, wow. Breathing is like a biohazard. If you don't breathe in every few minutes, you die. But the air we're breathing in is killing us. I went to my behavior modification center to see if they could cure me of my habit of breathing. But in the cubicle next to me, I heard, "Would you like to stop drinking?" No. "Would you like to stop smoking?" No. "Would you like to stop overeating?" No. I want to stop worrying that I eat, drink, and smoke too much. I'd like to share something with you that I read in a self-help magazine that I pulled out of the trash can in the ladies' room in the House of Pancakes. Will, by G. Gordon Liddy, master of the Watergate caper. Liddy, who when holding his hand above a lit candle flame, said, "The trick is not to mind it much." And I don't mind that when I first came into the world, Elvis was already fat. And I don't mind that no matter how much contempt I have for society, it's nothing compared to the contempt society has for me. And I don't mind that every time I go outside and breathe in, I feel like I want to vomit. For G. Gordon Liddy showed me the way. You see, life is like that candle, and we are all like G. Gordon Liddy's hand hovering above it. And it hurt like heck. But the trick is not to mind it much. I'm sorry, but I mind it.
At 7 o'clock in the morning, Brittany dashes out of the house, with hair still wet and books falling out of her arms. She rushes to Scholars Bowl practice and attentively sits through 7 hours of school with 2 club meetings stuffed in the middle. She pushes herself through 2.5 excruciating hours of track practice, locates her younger sister, and they arrive home to an empty house. With books sprawled in all directions, Brittany begins her nightly several hours of homework, gobbling a sandwich in the middle. Her parents arrive home around 7 o'clock, claiming to have had a busy day at work. After exchanging a few words with her family, Brittany retires to her bedroom, where she reads 2 chapters of her book, required for English, and finally catches up on some sleep. This busy process rarely leaves Brittany with any time for family bonding. Hi, it's nice to see you all here. I'm Brittany. However, according to Dr. Joseph Barania, a researcher involved in UCLA's Everyday Lives of Family study, my family may be no different from typical Americans. He says, parents and children live virtually apart at least for 5 days a week. They reunite for a few hours in the evenings, sleep, and then separate again the next morning. In this study, at least one parent was likely to be up and gone before the children even awoke. This process, although normal in America, is harmful for families, yet difficult to avoid. In order to understand how we can regain this family bonding, it's necessary to understand how the busy lives of children and the demanding schedules of adults are contributing to a loss of family time, and also what can be done to regain this precious, coveted family bonding time. In order to understand why losing family time is becoming an issue, it's essential to understand how the busy schedules of children are contributing to our problem. Childhood is becoming a rat race, with children running in all directions for activities. Studies have shown that children with more vivid imaginations are much more likely to have higher IQs, to be more creative, and to laugh and smile more on the playground than other children. According to research done by Dr. Stephanie Carlson, a child psychologist from the University of Washington. However, with children running in all directions for their activities, there's little time for this unstructured, creative play, not to mention family time. In fact, the Dean of Admissions from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Mary Lee Jones, can attest to these busy schedules of children becoming a problem. She said, I asked a group of students, what do you daydream about? And they told me, we don't daydream. There's no reward for it, and we have no time, so we don't do it. The childhood of the past was filled with happy-go-lucky children, exercising their imaginations and spending time with their families. But this is not so anymore. Now, children are being presented with a plethora of activities from which to choose. A mother from Northfield, Minnesota, a town of about 17,000, said that her town offered 15 activities for 3-year-olds. Not only are children being presented with more options, but they're being forced to dedicate more time and energy into each of their endeavors. Sports teams are now traveling year-round activities, requiring complete dedication from both the child and his or her parents. These busy schedules leave children with very little time to be spending with their families. In addition to the busy lives of children contributing to this issue, the demanding schedules of parents is contributing to a lack of this activity as well. Although many teenagers may roll their eyes at the thought of having to spend time with their embarrassing, uncool parents, recent studies have shown that this may not be true at all. In fact, a study published by the YMCA showed that 20% of American teenagers rate not having enough time with my parents as their #1 concern. This same study went on to show that parents today are spending much less time with their children than they were years ago. In 1965, parents spent on average 30 hours per week with their children. By 1985, that number plummeted to under 17 hours per week. These numbers have done nothing but decrease since that time either. But what exactly has been causing this shift? Dr. Ray Geroni, a child psychologist from the University of Cincinnati, says that the busy schedules of parents are contributing to a lack of this activity. He says when both parents are entering the workforce, we're forced to skimp out on giving our children all of the things that are necessary for a proper upbringing: time, self-sacrifice, dedication, commitment, and supervision. When both parents are working, there becomes little time for the parents to spend at home with their families and their children. Children truly need this support in order to obtain a proper upbringing. After understanding the problems, it's necessary to comprehend what can be done in order to regain this precious time. Reevaluating children's involvement in activities is the first step in this process. Although it is extremely important for children to be involved in activities and dedicated to causes, children today are simply taking on too much. In order to prevent this from happening, children need to reevaluate their involvement and select activities that interest them the most and pursue those, rather than attempting to be active in numerous organizations. A middle school principal from Minneapolis recognizes this concern. He jokingly said, "Maybe we need to have something like the warning label on a cigarette pack posted on the school doors. It would say, 'Warning, if your child accepts 1/3 of the activities we offer, you will not have a family by the end of middle school.'" Many parents with children of all ages are finding this to be true. Their children are simply taking on too much. By reevaluating their involvement, children can be involved in only activities that truly interest them. Dr. William Doherty, a child psychologist from the University of Minnesota, says many of his young patients have been asking him to convince their parents to allow them to drop a sport so that they may be able to spend more time at home. He says that parenting is becoming a competitive sport, with the trophies going to the busiest. In order to prevent this trend from becoming a reoccurring phenomenon, parents can simply begin to lower their children's involvement. By reevaluating the involvement, parents can say that they are not forcing their children to be active in every organization. It's also necessary for families to make a commitment to each other and to attempt to spend more time together. For instance, on the weekends and several nights throughout the week, my family and I enjoy sit-down meals and play games of cards. This time allows us to spend more time together, to enjoy each other's company, and to simply relax from our busy schedules. Recent studies have shown that this time together over a family meal may be extremely beneficial. According to a 2005 study published by the University of Michigan, family sit-down meals indicate positive behaviors in children, such as better psychological performance, better performance in school, and lower rates of substance abuse, including drugs, alcohol, and suicide use. This study went on to show that family meals are more important indicators of these behaviors than our activities such as studying, attending school, attending religious services, participating in art projects, or being involved in sports. These family sit-down meals are extremely important, and to better the family time situation, each family needs to examine its own situation and determine the best possible solution. As you can see, lessening family time is becoming a problem in America, but there are steps that can be taken. Both the busy schedules of children and the demanding lives of parents are contributing to this issue, but families can strive to ensure that they are spending time together. By reevaluating their each individual situation, families can indeed spend more time together. As we look back on our lives, we see that family's time may provide numerous joys in our lives, as Joyce Brothers once said. When we examine our lives, we begin to see that all of our true happinesses were family happinesses.
Jane and Bobby sitting in a tree. K-I-S-S-I-N-G. First comes love, next comes marriage, then comes a baby in a baby carriage. Wait, all of that from just one kiss? lasted 30 hours, 59 minutes, and 27 seconds. And what about all those other famous kisses in history? Sleeping Beauty was awoken with a kiss. The Frog Prince is transformed into his true self after a kiss from the beautiful princess. Mary Jane Watson kisses the mysterious hero Spider-Man as he is suspended upside down from his web. Oh, the kiss. So romantic, and maybe even a little mysterious. But what is it about all this kissing that makes it so desirable? Isn't kissing a rather disgusting act in which two people swap spit,